My name is Maya, just an ordinary girl from South Carolina, or so I thought, until the voices started. I'm not talking about madness, I'm talking about a frequency, a divine radio station that only I could hear. What you are about to hear is the true account of the miracle of the red clay and the terrifying, beautiful prediction that came with it. I've seen what happens next to our world. I've seen the fire and the rain, and I need you to listen, because by the end of this story, you'll realize that your future is already written in my past. I remember the heat. It was that thick, sticky southern heat that clings to your skin like a second layer. I was 12 years old, sitting in the back pew of our small AME church, listening to Reverend Thomas preach about Ezekiel's wheel. My grandmother, Nana Rose, was sitting next to me. She hadn't walked without a cane in 10 years, her knees ravaged by decades of scrubbing floors and arthritis. The air in the church was heavy, smelling of old hymn books and peppermint candy. Suddenly, the organ stopped, the reverend stopped, even the dust motes dancing in the stained glass light seemed to freeze. I looked around, confused. Everyone was frozen in place, like statues in a museum. The only thing moving was a single bead of sweat rolling down the reverend's temple, but it was moving in slow motion. That's when I felt it, a vibration starting in the soles of my feet, moving up through my legs, my spine, settling right behind my eyes. The roof of the church seemed to dissolve. I didn't see the wooden beams anymore. I saw a sky that wasn't blue, but a swirling, iridescent gold. A beam of this golden light shot down, bypassing everyone else and hitting Nana Rose. I wanted to scream, to protect her, but my voice was caught in my throat. I watched as the light enveloped her twisted legs. I heard a sound like rushing water, louder than any storm, yet peaceful. It was the sound of bones knitting together, of cartilage regenerating. It was the sound of a miracle. Then the light turned toward me. It didn't heal me physically, I wasn't sick. Instead, it touched my forehead. In that split second, the golden sky tore open, and I saw a vision of the year 2030. I saw cities I recognized, but they were different. I saw a massive wave, not of water, but of energy sweeping across the globe. I saw fear, but I also saw an awakening. Just as quickly as it began, the organ blared back to life. The congregation shouted amen as if nothing had happened. But then Nana Rose stood up. She dropped her cane. It clattered loudly on the wooden floor. The church went silent for real this time. She took a step, then another. She began to dance, her legs strong and young. The church erupted in praise, crying out about the miracle. But while they were looking at her legs, I was looking at the window. The sky outside was normal again, but I was shaking, because while they were celebrating the healing of the past, I was terrified of the future I had just seen. I saw something in that vision that changes everything we know about faith and survival. Nana Rose walked again, but the price of that miracle was a warning. Do you think you would want to know the future if it meant carrying the burden of saving it? Tell me in the comments if you believe in miracles, because what happened next defies all logic. The sanctuary behind me had turned into a frenzy of jubilation. I could hear the tambourines shaking and the heavy stomping of feet as the choir launched into a feverish reprise of Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior. They were celebrating Nana Rose's legs, the miracle of bone and sinew, but I felt like I was suffocating. The air inside felt too thin, too charged with that strange golden electricity that only I seemed to notice. I slipped out the heavy oak side doors, gasping for the thick, humid afternoon of South Carolina afternoon. I sat on the crumbling concrete steps, my hands trembling in my lap. The red clay dust coated the tips of my white patent leather shoes. I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breathing, but darkness brought no relief. The moment my eyelids shut, the vision of 2030 slammed back into my mind with the violence of a physical blow. The golden sky was gone, replaced by a sky the color of a fresh bruise, purple and angry. In this vision, I wasn't just watching, I was there. The heat was unbearable, far worse than anything we experienced in the south. I saw the Savannah River, usually wide and lazy, reduced to a trickle of brown sludge, navigating through cracked, parched earth. I saw people, thousands of them, marching on the interstate, but they weren't walking, they were shuffling, their lips chapped and white. They were holding up their hands, and in their palms were glowing, transparent squares, technology I didn't recognize, flashing red warning signals. The thirst, the great thirst is coming. You saw it too, didn't you? The voice snapped me back to the present. I opened my eyes, my heart hammering against my ribs. Standing at the edge of the churchyard, right where the manicured grass met the wild tree line, was a woman I had never seen before. She didn't look like the church ladies with their big hats and Sunday best. She wore a faded, simple dress that looked hand-sewn, and her feet were bare, caked in the same red mud that stained my shoes. She was older than Nana Rose, her face a map of deep wrinkles, but her posture was straight as a pine tree. She wasn't looking at me though, she was staring up at the sun without blinking. "Who are you?" I whispered, too scared to raise my voice. "The witness," she rasped. She turned her head slowly, and I gasped. Her eyes were clouded over, milky white. She was blind. Yet she walked toward me with absolute certainty, stopping just a few feet away. She reached out a hand, her skin cool and dry, and touched the exact spot on my forehead where the golden light had hit me. "The healer got her legs," the blind woman said, her voice dropping to a low rumble that vibrated in my chest. "But you," she said, "you got the burden. The water will leave, child. First the rain, then the rivers, then the hope. They are celebrating a healing today, but you have been given the map to the survival of tomorrow." She leaned in close, smelling of ozone and wet earth, the smell of a storm that hadn't happened yet. "The date," she said. "You saw the date. Don't you dare forget it." August 12th, I stammered, tears stinging my eyes. "Write it down," she commanded, stepping back. "Because when the water wars begin, that date is the only key to the lock." Suddenly, the side door of the church banged open again. Maya, girl, get in here. Nana is asking for you," my mother shouted, her face flushed with ecstatic joy. I turned to look at my mom for a split second, and when I looked back to the tree line, the blind woman was gone. There was no rustle in the bushes, no footprints in the mud, just the oppressive heat and the terrifying weight of a future I didn't want. I have to wonder, if a stranger walked up to you and told you you held the key to saving humanity from a global catastrophe, would you run or would you listen? I stood on those steps caught between running back to the safety of my mother's arms or following a ghost into the woods. What happens next required me to make a choice that ended my childhood forever. I walked back into the church, but I felt like a ghost haunting my own life. Nana Rose was sitting in the front pew now, surrounded by deacons, her legs swinging freely like a teenager's. She pulled me into a hug that smelled of lavender and sweat. "Look at God, Maya," she cried, her voice trembling with joy. I nodded, burying my face in her shoulder, but I didn't say amen. I couldn't. How do you praise the healing of one woman when you've just seen the suffering of the whole world? The disconnect between their celebration and my terror made me nauseous. That night, the silence of our house was deafening. I sat at my small wooden desk, with the moonlight cutting a sharp rectangle across my spiral notebook. I picked up a black pen. My hand was shaking so badly I had to grip my wrist with the other hand to steady it. I wrote it down. August 12th, 2030. The moment the ink settled on the paper, a shockwave rattled the window pane. It wasn't wind. It was like the air pressure in the room dropped instantly, sucking the breath right out of my lungs. My ears popped, and for a second the smell of ozone filled my bedroom. I needed to tell someone. I crept into Nana Rose's room. She was asleep, her breathing deep and rhythmic, the sleep of the pain-free for the first time in a decade. I shook her shoulder gently. "Nana," I whispered, desperate. "The lady outside. She said the water is leaving. We have to get ready." Nana stirred, smiling in her sleep, murmuring about sweet chariots. She wouldn't wake up. She was lost in the bliss of her miracle. I realized then that miracles can be blinding. The light that healed her was so bright it hid the shadow approaching us. I was alone. Days turned into weeks. I tried to go back to being a normal 12-year-old, but the vision of the dry riverbed wouldn't leave me. I started hoarding water bottles under my bed. My mom found them and thought I was just being weird, teasing me about preparing for a marathon. I didn't laugh. I couldn't tell her that in my dreams I was drinking sand. Then it started. It was a Tuesday evening. I was doing homework at the kitchen table. My dad came in from the porch, looking puzzled, holding the local newspaper. "Strange," he muttered, scratching his head. "Says here the county reservoir levels dropped 10 feet overnight. No leaks, no evaporation, just gone. Engineers are baffled." My stomach dropped through the floor. I ran to the back porch. We had a small creek that ran through the back of our property, always bubbling, always full of crawfish and minnows. I looked down at the ravine. It was bone dry, not just empty, dusty. The red clay was cracked in hexagonal patterns, like it hadn't seen water in years. The fish were gone, the frogs were silent. Lying in the center of the dry bed was something shiny, reflecting the setting sun. I climbed down the bank, my sneakers kicking up clouds of red dust that shouldn't have been there. I picked the object up. It was a pair of sunglasses with round, milky white lenses, the blind woman's glasses. I knew I shouldn't, but my hands moved on their own. I put them on. The world changed instantly. I wasn't in my backyard anymore. I was standing in a vast, arid wasteland where my house used to be. The sky was burning, and this time I wasn't alone. Someone was gripping my hand tight. I looked down, and the hand holding mine didn't belong to a human. It was cold, metallic, and humming with a blue power. I froze. Through those glasses, I was standing in 2030, and something, or someone, had just grabbed me. I have to decide right now, do I rip the glasses off and return to the safety of my dry creek bed, or do I look up to see the face of the machine that is holding my hand? If you found a window into the end of the world, would you have the courage to look the future in the eye? I slowly lifted my gaze, my breath catching in a throat that suddenly felt parched. The hand gripping mine belonged to a figure draped in rags that looked like woven fiber optics, dusty and torn. But it was the face that froze my blood. It was me, an older, battle-hardened version of myself, half of her face scarred by radiation burns, her left eye replaced by a glowing blue lens. She didn't look shocked to see me. She looked furious. "You're early," she spat, her voice sounding like grinding stones. She squeezed my hand tighter, the metal fingers digging into my skin. The portal wasn't supposed to open until the first aquifer collapsed. I tried to pull away, but her grip was iron. "Let me go!" I screamed, my voice echoing in the dead silence of the wasteland. "Where is the water? What happened to the world?" Future Maya leaned down, her one human eye filled with a sorrow so deep it looked like an ocean. "We traded it, Maya. We didn't know, but we traded it." She pointed a trembling metal finger towards the horizon, where a massive, shimmering spire pierced the smoggy sky. It pulsed with the same golden light I had seen in the church. The healing energy, the miracles. Every time we prayed for a miracle to defy nature, nature took a deposit from the future. Nana's legs? That cost us the Savannah River. The water didn't leave, it was consumed retroactively. The horror of her words washed over me. The miracle wasn't a gift, it was a theft. We were stealing the lifeblood of our grandchildren to fix the pains of our grandparents. "You have to break the link," the older me hissed, shoving something cold into my palm. "The blind woman is the broker. She collects the debt. You have to stop the payments." Before I could ask how, the ground beneath us shook violently. A siren wailed, a sound of pure dread. "Moisture detected," a mechanical voice boomed from the sky. The future me looked at me with panic. "Wake up! They're coming for your tears!" She shoved me backwards hard. I gasped, ripping the glasses off my face. I was back in the red clay creek bed, drenched in sweat, clutching a smooth, heavy black stone in my hand, the object she had given me. It wasn't a dream. I scrambled up the bank, terrified, running toward the safety of my back porch. But as I neared the kitchen window, I stopped cold. Inside, Nana Rose was standing at the kitchen sink. She had a gallon jug of water tilted back, guzzling it with a feral intensity. Water streamed down her chin, soaking her dress, pooling on the floor. She finished the gallon, threw the empty plastic jug aside, and immediately reached for another. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and for a terrifying second, they glowed with that faint golden light. She wasn't just thirsty, she was draining the world 1 gallon at a time. I backed away, stepping on a dry twig. Snap! Nana's head whipped around toward the window with supernatural speed. She saw me. The loving grandmother I knew was gone. Something ancient and hungry was looking back at me. We always pray for miracles, but we never ask who pays the bill. My grandmother is drinking the future dry, and I am the only one holding the receipt. I have the stone from the future, and I know the truth, but standing between a miracle and its fuel means I have to fight my own family. What would you do if the person you loved most was the reason the world was dying? The screen door didn't just open, it flew off its hinges with a screech of tearing metal, landing in the dust with a heavy thud. Nana Rose stepped onto the porch. She looked like my grandmother, but her movements were too fluid, too predatory. Water dripped from her chin, staining her floral dress, but her skin was parched, cracking as I watched, as if the water she drank was vanishing into a void inside, rather than hydrating her cells. "Child," she said, but the voice wasn't hers. It was a chorus of thousands, a hollow echo. The debt must be paid. The vessel requires hydration. She took a step toward me, and the ground beneath her bare feet turned instantly brown and brittle. She extended a hand. "Give me the anchor." I looked down at the black stone in my hand. It was vibrating now, pulsing with a cold blue rhythm that matched my heartbeat. Future Maya had called it an anchor. It wasn't just a rock, it was a piece of the reality that should exist, a tether to a timeline where physics still mattered, where water was traded for magic. "No," I whispered, my voice shaking. "It costs too much, Nana. I saw the river. I saw the future." "Faith requires sacrifice," the entity inside her roared, and the air around us shimmered with that blinding golden light. It lunged at me. Instinctively, I didn't run. I thrust the black stone forward, pressing it against the air between us like a shield. When the golden light hit the stone, the world exploded in silence. A shockwave of blue energy erupted from my hand. It didn't hurt. It felt like plunging into a cold lake on a hot day. The golden light shattered like glass. Nana gasped, the unnatural strength leaving her body instantly. She crumpled to the porch floor, unconscious. I dropped to my knees beside her. "Nana!" I shook her. Her eyes fluttered open. They were her eyes again, soft, brown, confused. She groaned, reaching down to rub her knees. "Lord mercy, Maya. My legs. The pain is back. Why is the pain back?" I held back a sob, clutching the black stone so tight it cut my palm. The miracle was broken. The payment had been stopped, but looking past the porch, the creek was still dry. The damage was already done. I looked up at the sky. The sun was setting, painting the horizon in blood-red hues. I knew this wasn't over. The blind woman was still out there. The date, August 12th, 2030, was still coming. I had won the first battle, but I had started a war between the natural world and the divine thieves. I am Maya, the girl who rejected a miracle to save the future, and I'm the only thing standing between you and the great thirst. This is where my childhood ended and my mission began. The war for the water has only just started, and the secrets of the red clay run deeper than you can imagine. If you want to know what happens next, if you want to see the future I'm trying to prevent, hit that like button right now. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. You need to be ready when the water runs out. See you in the next chapter.